Here are a couple tips that you can leverage to sell more of your digital products. So this could be a course that you might have. It could be an ebook. It could be a challenge. It could be access to a membership site. I'm just gonna kind of freestyle this because I'm not sure what you have or what you're in, but some of the stuff can be applied across the board, all right? So one of the first things that I'd like for you to realize is within the digital space, margins are really high, right? So you're not ordering inventory, you're not worrying about logistics and sending people physical stuff that you already paid for. In the digital space, margins should be relatively high. If they're not, then you gotta reevaluate what you're selling and how you're selling it, right? But in the digital space, you should have enough room to minimize the barrier for consumption, okay? So this is gonna be one of the main tips that I'm gonna be leaning in on because I think it's gonna be counter to what most people actually even wanna do. Most people, when you sell a course, you want to be able to know that you can spend that money right now. You wanna know that, like, hey, I made 500 bucks off of this. I have access to, 500 plus or minus whatever the fees are for transactions, right? So, but things have changed, all right? How people buy has changed. The way that our society has changed. We've seen it in retail, we've seen it all over the place. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you must minimize the barrier for consumption so that people feel comfortable with their purchase, all right? So in the digital space, there should be enough margin for you to be able to give yourself a runway, give people a trial period, or provide some type of guarantee, okay? So let me jump back for a second and I'll jump back forward. I'll jump back to where I am. I can still remember years ago, I remember the days where, like, if I was returning something, I would start to think about an excuse that I need to make in order for them to approve my return. Like, oh, I'm bringing this back because it didn't really work that well. Like, I didn't like this. And I would have to think about some excuse to provide in order for them to accept my return. This could be for an electronic, anything. And across the board, Target, Walmart. Now, if you have noticed, those days are kind of gone. Like, you don't have to have an excuse. When you walk up to the counter, it's like receipt. Or most of the time, you don't even need the receipt anymore. Like, you could walk up and it's just like, hey, what card did you use? Just swipe the card you use and we'll be able to bring up your purchase. You don't even need the receipt anymore for most places. Well, Target. So I bring this up because, again, you feel comfortable buying from Target and some of these places because you know now that, hey, if I buy and I want to return it, I at least can. Now, here's the thing, right? What portion of the people are returning it? That's where the numbers come in. But we're not gonna go there. We'll address that in a separate video. So if you're selling digital products, here are a couple of things that you should be doing in order to be able to sell more. First big thing is you really have to quantify what people are getting out of purchasing the product. So this is around you being able to really validate and quantify what the value of the product is. If you're selling a product for $500, it should be worth at least $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 over a period of time, depending on how long they're gonna be taking to consume it, okay? You cannot sell something for $500 that's worth $500. You cannot do that. People, when they're buying stuff, especially information, training and stuff like that, they're looking for a deal. The only time they're gonna get a deal is if they're buying something you buy something that's worth $5,000 for $300, for $500, and now all of a sudden in your mind, you're thinking, all right, because of that discrepancy, like, I feel good about this purchase. When you quantify when someone should get their return on their investment, that should also be in line with that barrier that you broke down, with that guarantee that you have. All of that should play into your timeline, okay? So if I were to sell let's say I were to sell a digital product and this digital product, the aim for the digital product is for people to be able to generate, their first $50,000 selling websites online, right? Like that, let's say that's my aim. It should be like, I'm gonna walk you through how to find your first $50,000 worth of opportunities for web design and digital marketing within your first 6 months. Within your first 6 months. Now, within this training, there's a ton of stuff that I'm gonna be having you do, but within the first couple weeks, you should have a feeling of whether or not you're gonna get the most out of this training. So that's gonna be the period of time where I may give you one of two things. I'll give you a trial, so you don't pay anything until after the first 2 weeks, or I give you the ability to ask for or request a refund, or I give you the ability to ask for some support, so for some additional support. So within the first couple of weeks, I wanna overload you with value. I wanna overload you with opportunity. I wanna overload you with options. That is where I as a business owner have a lot of risk, right? You can get whatever you consumed. I don't make anything if I don't prove that I'm gonna be supporting you within those first couple of weeks. But at the same time, the risk for the consumer is extremely low. All of this has changed over the years. Again, like I'm telling you, years ago, I remember like if you were selling a digital product, all you needed was, you needed a landing page or something for people to opt into. You needed an email list. You sent a couple emails and boom, they buy. And after they buy, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like I made some money. Those days are gone, okay? Oh, those days are gone. Now, you gotta have more guarantees. You gotta have solid validation that you're providing value. You gotta provide, even outside of just courses, sometimes you have to provide some type of community so that people feel that, hey, if I'm not getting the results that I should be getting, maybe it's me, because I'm a part of this community of 500 people, and there's people in here raving about getting results, so maybe it's me. Is it something I'm not doing? Who's holding me accountable? Like all of this stuff is in play when you start to add things to a digital product, and these are things that they weren't necessary before. They weren't fully necessary before. So that's the first big thing, minimizing the barrier to consumption. Now, there's also a level of, there's also another exchange within the digital space that has changed, right? Like years ago, you were able to sell something and you don't really have to provide a ton of support. So you just kind of like, you let it go, right? But now, you have to create some type of framework to showcase that you can continue supporting those who are buying your digital product. So one thing that you can do is you can create a resource library. So this is nothing more than a repository of videos, documents, checklists, stuff that will help people with achieving the goal that they signed up to achieve with your program. So you have to keep thinking about resources that can help these folks. Keep thinking about resources that can help these folks. The other thing you can do is you can designate a couple periods of time where you're going live and you're sharing, not sharing, but you're going live and you're getting your customers to ask you questions. I'm getting a bunch of stuff flying around this thing. So you can get your customers to ask you questions. So again, that provides a certain level of support, it shows engagement, and that's what people pay for. Now, there's things that you can strategically schedule in order to make people feel as though they're a part of like a cohort, or they're a part of a, something that has a framework to it. So if you don't want to have to like carve out specific times to be able to address different portions of a course, you can schedule it out. So here's what I mean by that. So let's say you have a course that has, let's say you have a course that has 6 modules, right? 6 modules. And whenever someone joins the course, I think it's gonna be loud this way, so I'm gonna go this way. Whenever someone joins the course, you wanna be able to provide them with support on that particular module. What you can do is you can say, okay, module 1, I'm gonna be going, anyone that is currently on module 1, you're gonna be tuning in to the Monday at 6:30 session. Anyone that is currently on module 2, you're gonna be tuning in on the Tuesday at 6:30 session. So you now have these blocks of time where you're addressing specific modules. You can even have these emails sequenced out based off of, like, you can have these emails scheduled and automated so that, like, again, people feel like there's a process here, but those are the designated times where you're addressing specific modules. So every week, you're spending an hour going through and addressing specific elements of that respective module. And so total for the week, you gave 6 hours, but you may have sold 20 instances of your digital product. So I mean, I do not have any problem spending 6 hours, 1 hour every evening to be able to have a meeting if I'm selling a $1,000 course and I'm selling 10 of them a week, right? I mean, I'm okay with that, right? So you should be okay with that. I know what you're watching on Instagram, like you're watching these people that make it so easy to generate, $100,000 a month, and you're seeing them on beaches and stuff. I'll tell you, that is not the reality, okay? I'm a part of masterminds where, we all have digital products. Many people are way ahead of me, but they're spending a ton of time just providing value and helping their community and building their resource center. So you have to as well, all right? There's no easy way out of this. You have to do this stuff at least up front. As you start to generate revenue, take that revenue, you can start to hire people, you can start to designate moderators and administrators to help you out with, with managing your community, managing your course. But again, at some point, it's gonna start to change your business, all right? So, again, going back, the big thing with this video is this. As a creator who creates digital products, now more than ever, you really have to focus on overloading people with value. And at the same time, you're not even gonna get to the point of having a chance to overload them with value if you do not minimize the barrier to consumption. You have to get people to feel comfortable about a purchase. There are, providing payment plans is another tip. There are tools now where you can easily put people on a payment plan, and those payments are automatically debited on a monthly basis. All of these tools are readily available for you. Some of the tools necessary to achieve some of this is, $20 a month. I mean, come on, $20 a month. You can invest $20 a month to enroll in a software that can automate all of this stuff for you. All right. If you have any questions about that type of stuff, hit me up. Let me know. I have some recommendations on tools that would fit your particular business model. But if you're getting into the digital product space, just know that there are many options out there to minimize some of the friction that you used to experience years ago, and maximize what your return would be from getting into this space. All right, hit me up if you have any questions. Peace.